Conan Exiles is slated to receive one of its most ambitious updates yet, bringing alternate methods of obtaining thralls through a tavern system where NPCs will peacefully join you in exchange for coin, and a new NPC raid target that allows people from all game modes to get a taste of the raid scene. Dubbed the Siege of Merayah, the Stygians have constructed a more permanent home in the heart of the exiled lands and filled it with all manner of soldiers, archers, snakes, and treasure. The enemies themselves are geared towards endgame players, and in the dev stream it was said that this is designed to be doable even for solos and duos as long as you're patient. The enemies inside are tanky, but there is loot within that makes it worth doing. Scattered around the fort are multiple battering rams, which can be picked up and used to raid the fort or even other players. Freestanding explosives respawn in one of the inner wagons, meaning a fresh character could potentially hop in here, grab some bombs, and go get star medal the moment they're on a server. And the legendary Musashi's Black Blade has a guaranteed spawn point inside the inner wall, which can also be obtained without any combat. Further inside the fort are several of the scrolls that you'd obtain from the hidden library in the Unnamed City, giving you a more active and enjoyable way of farming those recipes. And the upper floor is filled with piles of gold that can be picked up and collected, usually around 12,000 gold coins per run, making it a great alternative source for gold if you're crafting alchemical base. The mini-boss on the first floor drops the same keys as the Purge mini-bosses, and the final boss has an interesting loot table with all kinds of goodies. Legendary repair kits, pure aloe, alchemical base, hardened leather, and a reliable chance to drop some dragon powder and some decent weapons. So when you add it all up, it's a decent amount of explosives, free legendaries, and raid materials, and finding a way to raid this reliably could prove profitable even in the earlier game. From testing, I can say that the fortress respawns very quickly. After killing the boss and shift-deleting portions of the base for style points, before I could even adjust my view distance, the base had started to rebuild itself before my very eyes. So once this goes live, it should always be up, barring player shenanigans of course. Although I did notice some issues with placeables respawning on top of each other or sometimes not respawning at all, so there is a little bit of jank with the system, which is to be expected. And the final boss can sometimes not respawn properly, which just means you have to give it more time. Of course, all of that could be patched by the time it goes live, but it is Conan Exiles, so, be prepared. If you're primarily a PvE player, I'd encourage you to just enjoy yourself and take your time. This is the kind of system that has an immense amount of long-term promise for future content, and raiding isn't something you get to enjoy otherwise. The thralls within can be knocked unconscious, so you can use blunt arrows or purple lotus orbs to thin the horde before moving in, or open a much larger entry with trebuchets. But for those of us that might want to farm this a bit more efficiently, the Stygians are about to learn why it's a bad idea to build a roleplay base on a PvP server. Fair warning, the base is large and has a lot of placeables, so my frame rate isn't exactly stable. There's so many barrels. We're gonna go in naked, the way God intended, with the intention of getting our weapons and raid supplies from inside the fort. The ultimate eco-raid. The outer wall of the fort is close enough to most cliffs to be easily jumped over, but this spot in particular is the best because it puts you in a good spot to reach the next wall without being in the line of sight of many archers. The next wall has these sloped walls on them leading into every tower, which don't have any anti-climb, so use those to get over the wall and make your way over to the bombs. I'd recommend waiting on the wall for a little bit to make sure that the thralls in the courtyard have patrolled the way before you drop down to them. In this footage, we had respawned the fort a couple times, and we had the bug where there were multiple bombs overlaid onto each other, so we're only going to take 4 since that's what you're supposed to get out of the wagon. Just explain. After you've gotten your bombs, run into the nearby room across from the wagon to grab a free battering ram that we're going to use later. Then head into the larger room next to that to get a free Musashi's Black Blade. Now that we're armed and dangerous, we're going to head into the smaller structure next to the bomb wagon that leads up to the main keep. The thralls have started to pursue us now, so we're going to have to be quick. Climb up the awnings on the side to get around the palisades and get to the main keep. If you wind up pulling too much aggro before this part, just run around the keep until you lose it. Once you're up and over, jump over the fence and shimmy your way up the next few layers. The anti-climb here does not go all the way around the keep, so there are large gaps that make it easy to climb past. And at the higher levels, the sloped walls make a reappearance, giving us convenient access to the roof. Archers can spawn in the towers up here and stop you from climbing, so either kill them first or just climb at a point where they can't see you. From the roof, if you want the style points, you can start the process by placing your bombs, but that's a waste of good explosives. Drop down to a safe ledge and use your battering ram to knock some of the walls out. There is a thrall inside the main boss room that throws fire orbs, so you won't be able to climb out until he's dead. But I'd still recommend making a larger hole just in case. Alternatively, you can bust in at the same level most of the archers spawn at, so you have a hole to run out of. You'll just have to kill an archer or two to make sure that it's safe. If you have a bow and some arrows, you can even just sit on the ledge that we just made and kill the boss from total safety. It's up to you how you tackle this. Once you're inside, use the pillars to block any fire orbs thrown at you, while you close the distance and kill him. The minute he's dead, the rest of this is a piece of cake. The boss has a great axe which can attack very fast, so just be careful when engaging, but it isn't super hard just to stun lock him. Before long, he'll be dead. Easy peasy. Killing the boss will play a loud noise indicating that the raid is over and all of the other enemies in the fort will despawn, which means that you can safely mosey through the fort and grab anything that you missed. There's a scroll right where the main boss spawns, one on the table across from the mini-boss on the floor below, and a third on a table in the side chamber of the main room on the bottom floor. Along with a bunch of miscellaneous loot chests, so give everything a look through before leaving. Like I said earlier, the fort respawns very quickly, so this is a surprisingly viable method of unlocking your unnamed city recipes or giving yourself an early game boost with a free blade and bombs. I can't say how viable battering rams will be in PvP raids since the current damage and durability values aren't final, but if they're any good at all, hitting this fort first is a great way to kickstart a PvP playthrough. But that's it for today, just a quick video this time. Still, if you made it to the end, thanks for watching.